Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Space Engineers Plus Me, episode 87. I'm Enigmius, and today we're doing a post-mortem on the Wobblecopter. That's right, this ship is called the Wobblecopter. And it's because when it's running, it would actually probably wobble around a little bit, and that's kind of fun, I think. And not only that, Wobblecopter is very fun to say. That having been said, this is a post-mortem. This is a design that ultimately was not successful. We're going to talk about what worked and what didn't, and the whole idea is to just share ideas and thought processes so that if you're trying to build a ship, maybe you'll encounter a similar idea in your head that you want to try something. Maybe based on what you've seen here, it'll work a little bit better for you, or you'll know to avoid it because it won't work, or who knows. The people who won't like this episode are the ones who just want completely built ships with blueprints every time. I can't do that. It's only so many hours in the day. So we're going to take a look at what went wrong. So the next episode, when we have a different version to show you guys, it's going to make sense why we changed it and perhaps why we went certain directions with the various different features. So we're going to start at the bottom and we're going to work our way up, because the bottom is where the Borehead is spinning. And that's the moving part that'll draw attention to itself. Now, this is a new Borehead design for me. It's extremely aggressive in terms of how the drills are laid out and how it's expected to remove material, so that we can get as much dug out as fast as possible and then descend a little bit and dig out some more, and onward and onward. In this case, previously my Boreheads have basically had one sort of line of drills in various different configurations. This one obviously has the two lines. And then also the orientation of the drills is a little bit different. We've got two drills going down and two drills going forward, and then the pattern repeats, and they're all offset from each arm to the next, so that between the four of them, they're completely covering the area that we're drilling in fairly quickly is the goal. We've got the four gyros using yaw override to produce the rotational torque, so that everything is just kind of spinning around without having to worry about things getting bound up necessarily. If we're going a little bit too fast, the system itself will kind of slow down whether we want it to or not, because we're just using the yaw rotational torque and not the rotational torque from a rotor to make it move and do what it is we need it to do. So that was probably the one thing that we can expect to see carry over to the next iteration, block by block, because it seems to be the kind of thing that we at least ought to test out in detail before we make any final decisions. I'm pretty happy with the way it's looking. I think it's got promise, let's put it that way. Then we've got everything connected. You can see the conveyor blocks. Everything is basically a conveyor block that the drills are attached to, and it goes up through this rotor and then into this thing, up through here, through the rings of another autogyro, and then up through this column, and then through the rings of another autogyro, and then up through this pillar here, around through kind of like that, and then up into this large cargo container at the very top. And that's so that we can have this guy down in a hole mining and be able to extract the ore from this container with another ship from the top. Is just a hell of a lot easier than trying to do it from the front or the side or anything like that. Now, the whole idea with these autogyros is that we would be using this thing in a gravity environment, whether it's on a moon or a planet. Either should work. And just like we had with the Atlas Mark II, the lower autogyro would allow gravity along with the mass of the Borehead to auto level, to basically set itself up so that the Borehead was rotating on a level plane. And then we would use sensors along with carefully oriented blocks. We're going to skip right past those ones. Nope, that's not it. Over here, yep, this is it. We got a pair of sensors here, and we've got a pair of 45-degree slopes. You can see this one down here, so that the sensors would read up to a certain point, so that they would, at this position here, barely recognize the position of these blocks. They would say, yes, there is a block there. And then if this thing tilted up or down, one of these sensors would say there's no longer a block in my field of view, and that would trigger a gyro to cause a rotation that would level this. It may not make sense the way I'm describing it now, but the thing is, I don't want to over-describe it and make it sound more complicated than it is. It's really extremely simple and straightforward. If the sensor doesn't have anything in its field of view, it means this guy is no longer level relative to this guy, and it triggers a gyro to bring it back into level until both of these guys are saying that it now has a block in range. That was the idea, and I thought that it would be successful because everything is connected by rotors. There is some connected by merge blocks, just like we did with the autogyro on the Atlas Mark II, but there's also a rotor connected to the merge block, and then there's a rotor over here. So thinking that this would be enough to have the rings declared, so to speak, as a separate ship, I thought that the sensors would be able to detect it, but they don't. And that was the critical failure that kind of ruined this design, is that the sensors won't recognize the blocks that are directly in front of them because it thinks they're part of the same ship. Realistically, they are part of the same ship because that's why it's all under the same name. We built it to be part of the same ship, to all go to the same places together. Didn't quite work out that way. I've got some ideas that I can apply to the next iteration that will hopefully be a little bit more successful. One of the other things that I noticed is that the second auto gyro up top here was kind of redundant. It wasn't really necessary, and all it would have done was required the addition of more gyros and more straightening of things and all that other stuff. It probably would have really lived up to the name Wobblecopter when it was actually in use because of the amount of adjustment that would be going on. But I think we can do it with just the one auto gyro if we're careful and thoughtful about how we put it together. So that's what we're going to work on for the next one, is getting this whole thing to work, getting the sensors to work so that we can detect the things that are there and the things that aren't, and we'll go from there. And then up here is basically everything else that you need to make a working ship. We've got all of our thrusters. We've got 4 large atmospheric thrusters and 4 large ion thrusters, providing lift and stability if we wanted to hover. And then we've got large ion thrusters providing the directional thrust for maneuvering around and doing all those other things, including the upwards facing thrust, because again, we're going to be going from moons and planets back into space and all that other stuff. So it seemed like a good idea. The difficulty is I placed everything without stopping to think about the math involved and what we would actually need specifically to be able to make this thing hover and ascend when it had a full cargo container, and we weren't even halfway there. I don't think was the number that I finally came up with. The large ion thrusters alone would be able to lift 2 million kilograms worth of stuff, and a large cargo container usually carries around 4 million kilograms, I think. Either way, not enough thrust, but you'll notice it's kind of flat relative to the rings and the borehead below it. So we can build this out quite easily and add more thrusters, no problem, and have this thing going and doing what it needs to go and do. So that'll be one of the other things that we'll be doing. Other than that, I kind of like the way it ended up looking. For some reason, it reminds me of a faster than light ship, even though I've only played a little bit of faster than light, and I wouldn't be able to tell you what ship it looks like. But just the shape, that's definitely what it reminds me of. So now, I don't even think we're going to try and modify this ship. The only thing that I might keep is the Borehead, at the very least, so that I have a reference to go on when we start building the other one and build a new one from scratch, but just have this as the thing that we look at when we're doing it. Other than that, I think this one's going to be a full teardown, start over, and the Wobblecopter Mark II will hopefully be a bit more successful right out of the gate, so we can get it down on the surface, because we really need more iron. We need iron for days and days and days. So that's what we're going to do. And if you want to be notified when we add those future episodes featuring complete working builds like the Wobblecopter and all the other crap that we're going to be doing, you can subscribe to my channel or follow me on social media. Links for social media are always in the information section below the video. Feel free to leave your comments and feedback. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care.